about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
To infinity and beyond!
Some people without brains do an awful lot of talking, don't they?
It's classified.
You talking to me?
I could tell you, but then I'd have to kill you.
I can't lie!
Expecto Patronum!
Entertainment X.
You never know what you're gonna get.
For this episode, I sit down with Alton Fitzgerald White, and we cover a lot. We talk about his work ethic, kindness, service, what service means to him, his book that he wrote, My Pride. We talk about the concerts that he's performed in. We touch a little bit on his Broadway credits. We talk a lot about his views with overcoming inferiority, and so much. This really is a masterclass in living a full life and knowing and doing what you are supposed to be doing, what you're uniquely here to do in this life. It's a really fascinating conversation. So I hope you enjoy this conversation and keep on keeping on. We're back, and today with me is Alton Fitzgerald White. Yeah. Thank you so much for sitting down with me today.
It's my pleasure.
Inviting me to your humble abode.
Welcome.
It's gorgeous.
Thank you, man.
It's absolutely beautiful. The part of Central Harlem.
Central Harlem.
It's gorgeous.
Great. Thank you.
And there's a gorgeous coffee shop around the corner too. Harlem Coffee. Mm-hmm. Very good coffee.
Yes. Good stuff.
So our paths have never crossed until this moment, but they have been, in my mind, getting closer and closer. And I say this because you've performed with Disney Cruise Line through their DVC. Is that the title that you would have there?
Well, no, DVC that's the Disney Vacation Club cruises.
Okay.
So this is through it's a sort of a new relationship between Disney Theatrical and Disney Cruise Line. So they call us Disney Broadway stars.
I love that.
Yeah, Stars Set Sail is what they call us.
Stars Set Sail.
Yeah.
And now I did 2 contracts, and I wasn't there when you came on. I know you've done a lot more performing than that. I just say that because I've also performed on the same ship that you've been on, and I actually have a CD signed from you. We're going to talk about your CD.
Yay.
We're going to talk about your book. We're going to talk about all 4,308 performances of The Lion King. Woo. We're going to go through the whole thing.
Yeah.
But I saw a interview with you, that TED conversation.
My TEDx talk. Yeah.
Yes. And your conversation of service, what kept you going through all of those performances, what keeps you going through life. I want to talk about service.
Yeah.
I want to talk about what that means to you. How and when did that come about for you?
I discovered service through Al-Anon. I am an adult child of an alcoholic. My father was an alcoholic. And I was referred to Al-Anon meetings, which is for wives, children, spouses of alcoholics. And I started going to these meetings, and service is a big part of any 12-step program, and some of the biggest service in meetings is running a meeting, leading the meeting, being the person who keeps time for the speaker and keeps time when people raise their hands to share. And I kept being nominated to do service, and I had every excuse in the world as to why I couldn't do it. First of all, the meeting that I was going to was really difficult to get to. It was in the middle of my 5-show weekend when I was still doing Lion King. 5-show weekends are no joke. 1 Friday, 2 Saturday, 2 Sunday. There's not much time to do anything else in between the shows. And this meeting was on a Sunday morning at 10, which was hard, coming out of a 2-show day, getting up early, getting to a 10 o'clock meeting, having to leave early to get to my 12:30 half hour for 1 o'clock show. But this meeting was so powerful that on a soul level, I knew I had to get there. So even when I was tired, my body would wake me up and I would get there. So, and when I kept being nominated for service, I kept going, I just can't. I've got too much on my plate. And after being there for a while, one day my hand just went up. And I was like, whoa, what is going on here? And I knew that as much as my ego didn't want to be bothered, my soul was going, it is time for you to break through and do service. And it's interesting because at that time, even though I had been performing in Lion King for a long time, Lion King is my 6th Broadway show, I still had a fear of public speaking. So I thought I could never lead a meeting because I would have to reach out and call people and then have to read all this stuff and actually lead the meeting. But somewhere in my soul, something triggered and said, it's time to face this fear. And it wound up being the best thing I ever did, because once I started leading meetings, I realized, I'm in a safe environment. I got to know these people. I felt safe. We had things in common. And so I got a chance to practice with people that I trusted, running the meeting, finding speakers, asking for help, which was a big thing for me. And I started to see how it started to affect the rest of my life. Like, wow, this thing that I was afraid to do, that now I'm doing in the name of service, is like I'm getting so many more rewards that I didn't expect. Like, on the other side of fear is surprise, So I was getting all these new insights about myself, and finding this new courage, and finding this new voice, and finding this new attitude that had been just buried because I'd never really taken the time to really face it face to face. So I thought, wow, what if I applied this to other areas of my life? And once I applied it to my career, everything shifted for me. I stopped thinking about, when I would go to auditions especially, I would stop thinking about, like, I have to get this job, I have to get it. It's like, no, if this is my service to do, it'll work out. My job is to prepare. So I'm going to do the best I can to go in there and be the best representation of myself that I can be. But I can't focus on the end result, because that's not in my control. I can control the work and effort I put into it. And if it is my service to do, it'll work out, and it'll be pleasing to me. It'll be the money I want. It'll be a great opportunity. All that stuff will already be there. But let me just keep the focus on what I have to offer. So to me, service is an offering. It is a sharing. And in terms of talent, it is sharing my talent. And it's a great reminder for me when I'm performing, when I'm auditioning for anything. This is an opportunity for me to share. If I book the job, great. But let me keep the focus on my part, which is sharing. So that's really shifted everything for me. It made my 8 shows a week easier. It helped me to find a life outside of 8 shows a week, which is hard to do. When you're in the midst of it, we as actors or creative people tend to put so much focus on the work. And we have put on like these blinders. It's like tunnel vision. And we forget that there's other kinds of life happening. Service allowed me to detach from the 8 shows a week and go, when I'm away from that, I need to make sure I have a life outside of it, other interests, other passions. So then when I come back to this job, I'd be excited to get to the theater, because I hadn't been thinking about it all day. I've been exploring new things and tapping into new parts of myself. And then, come 7:30 when I sign in, it's like, oh, wow, now I get to do this thing that I already know how to do. And I have even more energy to bring to it because I've detached from it. And all of that, for me, was done in the name of service. Yeah. And service is something that, we get to define ourselves. There's no obligation with service. You can do something. Many times I'm asked to do certain things, some things free, some things that pay a lot of money, but I still go, well, it's still my choice. I know I can do it, but I get to choose if I want to do it or not. I get to decide what service means to me. Yeah. As opposed to going, well, you can do this, so you should do this. There is no obligation and there is no guilt with service. It is free will. It is a free will offering.
Yeah. Okay, I have a few questions that come up from this. Did all of that happen like year one of Lion King, or was this well halfway through Lion King?
This was well into my Lion King journey. This is about halfway through, because I did Lion King off and on for about 13 years, not consecutively, because I left and did other shows and came back and opened different companies of it. But about midway through my journey is when I discovered service. So it really helped me. Yeah. It helped lead up to the 4,308 performances.
Yeah. Did this help the service? Did that help with saying no to things?
Sure. Yeah. Because service also, another way that it helped me is that it helped me to put more of the focus on what something feels like as opposed to what it looks like my instinct. Like sometimes I'll offer something and I go, wow, that looks like a great opportunity, but it doesn't really feel right. And I've gone, well, it looks good, so let me try it. And I get in there and I go, oh man, I should have trusted the feeling. Yeah. There's more to it. I didn't really think about the details. And there's sometimes I'm offered a little bitty something and go, yeah, that's not a whole lot, but something about it feels sincere. Feels like this is my service to do. And I commit to that. And then all these other surprises come that catapult me above and beyond where I expected to be. So I've learned to tie my service into how things make me feel as opposed to how things look. Because your instinct is something that is specifically for you. You can't explain your instinct, your gut feeling to anybody. It's specifically for you, and only you can act on it. Yeah. You can get advice. You can tell people, I have this feeling about so-and-so, but ultimately you have to make the decision. And service helps me to kind of really it's helped me to fine tune that and really learn to trust it.
Oh, I really like that. Now so then we could say it in terms of cultivating service, finding your service, because you can't, like my intuition, what I feel destined to do or what I feel obligated to or what I feel like I should be doing is different from you, is different from everyone. Are there questions that you ask yourself or started by asking yourself when were first figuring this out? Were there go-to thought processes to help you cultivate service?
I don't know if there was so much questions for me. It was really the feeling thing.
It's just feeling.
Yeah, because at first, I'm the kind of person, when I learn something new, I need to apply it as soon as possible so that I can kind of incorporate it into my life. Yeah. But this was a tricky thing for me because I had this new idea of how service worked in one part of my life. But the transitions are not always easy. Habits are hard to break. I was still going by, well, this looks like a good opportunity on paper, so let me go with this. Yeah. And but over time, after going with something, the way something looked, and then not being satisfied and going, well, let me try the opposite. Let me try the least obvious seeming way, which really does require a lot of faith. And courage. Yeah. Said, let me try it. Let me just say no to that and try this little bitty thing over here because this, for some reason, I'm more attracted to this little bitty thing. The flashy, shiny thing looks great, but man, this little bitty thing over here, like something about this, it intrigues me more. Yeah. Let me try going against the grain. And by doing that enough, I was able to go, oh, wow, it's okay. So it's really, I'm a feeling person. It's more about how things make me feel. Yeah. So I can't say that transition was very easy because, habits are hard to break. Something's always worked. You go, well, it's always worked. Truth. And of course, there's nothing worse than when that's something you've always thought you could count on suddenly expires without any kind of warning. So this was kind of like, that was my transition really, just tapping more into the feeling thing. Okay. Which required faith and trust and courage, which is something that, we always need to be in touch with, especially if we want to like get to the other side of something. Your faith is always going to be called into question.
Isn't that true?
Yeah,
that's the truth. Now, you might have already answered this, but at the same time, were you feeling a change of like a decrease of fear and increase of gratitude?
Mm-hmm. Well, gratitude. Gratitude. Even before service, gratitude has always been at the foundation of everything I've done. Mm-hmm. Because I know so many people who have not been as fortunate as I've been. And that's a tricky thing even saying, because I don't think that anybody's more fortunate than anybody else is. Mm-hmm. I think we all get our opportunities, but we may not always be prepared to take advantage of them, or we may not be as in touch with our courage and our faith to make that move. I don't believe in luck. I don't believe in anybody being more blessed than anybody else. But I do. There are people that I know in the business who I've seen sabotage opportunities. I've seen them ruin their reputations, and I've learned from that. And I go, thank you, universe, that I don't need that kind of attention. That somehow my passion helped me to focus more on the work than my ego or the so-called celebrity or fame or attention or whatever, So I have gratitude that, that I've always done it for. I've always seen my talent as something to share. Yeah. Even before I discovered service, I always had that. I'm so grateful that I have a voice. First of all, that I love to sing and that I have a voice that people love to listen to. Wow. That's really great because I know people who love to sing who don't have very pleasant voices. Yeah. I tell them sing anyway because it makes you feel good. But I'm like, God or what your higher power, whatever you believe in, gives you the quality of your voice. You know, some have raspy tones, some have beautiful tones, some have really, really rough tones. I'm grateful that God gave me a tone that people want to listen to.
Yeah. The self-sabotage, that comes from a place of fear.
Yeah, it is.
Is there, and I'm not trying to get like the gossip or any of that.
Yeah.
Is there one story that sticks out in your mind, not mentioning any names or any situation, like just the situation of it that maybe taught you the most in terms of a self-sabotage? Like, oh, I could have done that to myself, or...
Well, I still see it. You know, to me, it's that performer, and we all have our moments. You know,
yes.
Okay, especially in a long running show, you have a moment where, like, you know, some days the applause isn't enough. You just need more. You're just having one of those days where I just need more attention. I need to stand out. I'm tired of blending in. I want to be an individual. And I think it's important to be in touch enough with yourself to know that you're having one of those kind of moments. But when you're not aware that you're having one of those kind of moments and you're acting out, and you don't realize you're acting out, that's when it's dangerous.
Yeah.
And especially if you don't have anybody who really loves you enough to go, you're acting out. I don't know how you feel, but this is what you look like, and it's not a good picture. So those are the kind of things I've seen. I've seen people act out, whether it's at work, whether it's in a concert, whether it's in a rehearsal, and it's like, wow, do you not realize how inappropriate that is right now? Do you not realize how you're showing, you're wearing your insecurity on your sleeve, you're wearing your fear. You have all this, you have this beautiful voice, you're a beautiful person, but you need this extra, it makes you look desperate. And that's, to me, is a form of sabotage, and it's coming from a place of maybe not feeling enough in that moment.
Yeah. Yeah, completely.
And we all have that. Like, you know, nobody's exempt from that. But, you know, you gotta have enough self-awareness to know if you're being inappropriate.
Yeah. And if you don't, you gotta have someone who give you the love, the hard love.
Give you the hard love. Yeah.
Do you have that in friends and family?
I do.
Combo.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I have it in a friend. She'll always give me the truth.
Yeah. And that's how you grow.
Yeah.
You know, I have friends, my closest friends don't tell me what I need to hear. They tell me, you know, what I need to know.
Yeah.
And I know, and it's mutual. Like, no matter how offended you may be, no matter how upset you may be at me saying this to you, you know it's coming from a place of love. You know, we're on the same team. So feel your feelings, be upset with me, but eventually you'll come back and go, okay, thank you for telling me that.
It's here to help you.
Yeah.
Not hurt you.
Yeah. And it's all good.
Yeah. What did your parents teach you about work ethic?
My parents, especially my mother, taught me a lot. I get my work ethic from her. Like, no matter what was going on in the household with the alcoholism or what, my mother was consistent. No matter what happened the night before, she got up, she was at work on time, she was reliable, she was the steady, consistent force my entire childhood. And she taught all of us that. So no matter what's going on, you take care of your responsibilities. Yeah, you detach from whatever's going on, and you fulfill your commitments. And that's something that definitely helped me be a consistent performer. And I was known for very rarely missing shows, because no matter what happened, if I woke up with a sore throat, I would spend the entire day nursing it so that I can get on stage and do my very best. There was never any kind of like, oh man, it's one of those days. Like, no. What do I need to do because I've got to perform. I signed a contract. I've got to do my 8 shows a week. And you can't get anybody to understand that. You know, I used to get not criticized for that, but sort of teased for not missing shows. And it used to hurt my feelings, because I was like, but this is what I do. This is what we all do. Like, why would I not be concerned that I can possibly not be on stage tonight? Right. And for somebody who doesn't have the same level of passion, it may look like other things to them. And it took a lot of energy when I was younger and more insecure to not let that hurt my feelings. You know, because you want to be a part of a group, right? You want to belong, but you know, when you're passionate about something, especially if you're a principal, And, you're not blending in with other people. You're up there doing your solo. If you crack or something sounds off, it's on you.
Completely.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're the only one. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's your responsibility. And you can never make anybody understand your own level of commitment to that, to trying to provide that kind of consistency with your talent. So sometimes it is mistaken as arrogance, as standoffishness, because I would know, I can't talk right now. Nope, I've got to save it for the stage. I always put the focus on the work. It was always about protecting the work.
Yeah. What did your mother teach you about kindness?
She still teaches me a lot about kindness. About my mother. For so many years, I would talk to my mother about something and she'd go, Alton, not everybody thinks the way you do. Not everybody sees it the way you do, especially me being such a passionate, serious young man. And it took me a while for it to really sink in and go, okay, to not expect, first of all, you expect, it's almost a recipe for disappointment. If you're expecting something to be a certain way and it's not, you're setting yourself up, oh, well, yeah, it's this, it's almost there, but it's not quite what I thought. So it's about like being open and it's about forgiving and creating a space for how it could possibly turn out. And that possibility could be better than what you had, quote unquote, expected.
Yeah.
And to be kind to myself in the meantime, and to not project my expectations onto other people, because that's not kind. Yeah. It's not kind to make somebody feel responsible for something that only has anything to do with you.
So you mean by that, like, I'm trying to think of an example. Like, I don't want to use the word guilt, but guilting someone into something that you believe they should do.
Yeah.
Because
because that's how you see it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not a kind thing to do.
No.
Guilting someone, projecting obligation or guilt onto somebody, that's not a kind thing at all, because people have their own perceptions of things.
Yeah. Did you have your mind set on Broadway? Was that
I did not. Growing up, I was a TV kid. And I write about this in my book, how I'm so blessed that variety shows were on TV. So my dreams of show business were being on a variety show or being on stage in Vegas. Because to me, that was like a live version of a variety show. Sammy Davis Jr., Frank Sinatra, having a show where I got to sing and dance and do skits on Vegas. So that was what I always thought. I want to see my name on a marquee in Vegas. I discovered musical theater when I went to performing arts in the 10th grade and started doing plays and musicals. And then I, figured out what Broadway was. So yeah, my dream started with Vegas.
Okay.
Wanting to be like a Sammy Davis Jr.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, for instance, and correct me if I'm wrong here, was there a straight path for you? Were you like, this is what I want, this is what I'm going to do? And then you had to discover kind of like empathy for yourself along the way of like, let me take it easy on this? Or was it always just like a path have you just been following the path of life? Like, did you know what I mean? Did you set, I hate to use the word goals, but did you set like goals, or was it kind of like just discoveries?
It was discoveries. That's a great question. It was discoveries. Like for me, I was a very shy kid. It took me a long time to sing in front of anybody because singing was my secret. So, I mean, I still say this whenever I do a speaking engagement, and I'm doing one in a couple of days in Denver. I always start singing The Impossible Dream a cappella. And I talk about how, being a shy kid, there was a time that I never in a million years thought I would ever have the courage to sing in front of anybody. And every time I open with that, I'm reminded of like how far I've come. Because, you reach a certain amount of success or successes, and it's nothing like going back, nothing like being able to have the courage to go back to like remembering when, I remember when this was hard for me. I don't ever want to take for granted what I do, because I know how hard I've worked for it. So that's a reminder for me. And hopefully it taps into people I'm speaking to of like things that they may have forgotten that were once difficult, that are now easy, that they may take for granted. Which hopefully encourages you to open your mind to other possibilities. Like there's more, there's further to go. So with having the fear and literally being forced to sing in front of anybody in my church choir because I had to do a solo, and then some people coming up and telling me that I had a nice voice and this and that, and not really understanding that because I loved the sensation of singing. I didn't really know what I sounded like. I just know that it felt good. And then having to like really find out what my sound was and then learn to like ride it, get on top of it and really, really go on the journey with it. And then, so I started performing arts in the 10th grade. I knew one or two people when I went to the school. And 3 years later, when I graduated, I got the lead. I played the King and the King and I, which was a big deal in the big, yearly musical. I was voted most likely to succeed. I got a standing ovation at my graduation. So I went from like this, shy kid to like a popular kid. Huh. And then when it was time to go to college, I was in denial that my high school years would ever end. So I didn't really prepare. So I thought, okay, it's time to get back to my academics. So I went to Ohio University to go back, I was going to study business, and it was too late. I was already an artist, but I was in denial because I was afraid. I thought, what kind of life, what kind of career for me is there in musical theater as a black male performer? And after, a whopping 3 weeks at Ohio University, I called my parents, came back home and took general studies at University of Cincinnati, eventually auditioned for the musical theater department and was admitted. And I thought, wow, okay, I'm on the right track. I'm really studying it. And I started working at Kings Island, one of my favorite shows. It's a theme park in Ohio. And had a really rough time in college because I was never cast in a show. I was failed in all of my boards except for one. And I figured out after about 3.5 years, they didn't know what to do with me as a black male performer. I would get these notes like, you too much of this and not enough that, but nothing specific. And I finally figured out they don't know what to do with me. They'll never cast me as a lead in a show. And I feel like I'm ready to do leads. And yeah, I wouldn't trade that for the world because it helped me to really tap into in spite of what my professors were saying to me, in my gut, my instincts told me that I had something to share and that there was no turning back, that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I can't say that I had any idea how I was going to get there, but I knew that feeling was enough for me to go, well, I got to keep going. I got to keep looking for the next opportunity. And from there, I went to Chicago to study with the dance company and then broke off into theater, got my equity card in Chicago, spent 4 wonderful years there, auditioned for the original company of Miss Saigon here in the city and booked it, understudy Hinton Battle. After he won the Tony, he went down to doing 6 shows a week. They gave me 2 shows as John. And then when he left after that first year, I became John in my first Broadway show at like 25. So a lot of it was... for me, was passion, and I'm grateful that that passion was stronger than my fear. My passion was stronger than other people's opinion of my talent and opinions of me. And I just learned to really, really just go by that feeling thing. And even before I had words to describe it, I had been doing that for a long time. How does it make me feel? Yeah, the rest of the group is going there and I want to go there too, but my gut says I need to go this way. And that's what's led me to here.
That's given you a big sense of independence,
Yeah.
of being independent.
It has been very,
Not going with the flow.
Yeah, I've never gone with the flow. It doesn't work for me in this lifetime. And it was tough for me when I was younger because I wanted to be hanging with the gang and not with the cast and going out drinking, but I knew that I couldn't do that. That I didn't have that, being a performer, being consistent, being disciplined, staying aligned with my passion was stronger than me being a part of a group. And I got to say, it was very isolating at times. Because there were times when I wish I could do both. And it's like, I'm just not interested enough to do the other.
Yeah. Those 3 weeks at that college before you switched.
Yeah.
Was there a sense of feeling lost? Is that where independence really came out?
Oh God, it was terrifying. I mean, I cried so much those 3 weeks going, I was the second one to go off to college of 7 kids. Yeah. And And there was all this expectation that I felt, and I was like, I can't not make this work. But the more I tried to make it work, the more I realized that I couldn't hold my breath for 4 years and pretend this is okay. While like all this music wants to come out of me, like and I missed singing and dancing and expressing myself. I was suddenly around creative people. I was around like academics, and I needed both. The great thing about performing arts, my high school is that it was very intellectual kids who were also very talented. It was a number 2 school academically in the city, in addition to being a performing arts school. So we're smart, talented kids, and I was used to having that balance of both.
That
and
level
of
functioning.
Yeah, and without the artistic stuff, it was just like everything seemed really dull and silent, and I was like, I can't do this. I'm going to suffocate.
Yeah, that's just so interesting. It's so interesting to me because 3 weeks is so quick, and for you made that decision.
Yeah,
like no one made that decision for you.
did.
You were like, I gotta leave.
Yeah.
And I'm curious what the self-talk was. Was it?
Oh,
did it kind of build up in 3 weeks? Like, were you like, I
did.
gotta get out of here?
Yeah, well, at first I was like, okay, well, I'm going to be all right. This is because this is the track I was on before I discovered my love for performing. Because up until that point, before performing arts, it was still sort of a secret. I started singing in junior high school after being forced to do the solo. I was like, okay, I get my smarts on. I'm like, in student council and student government, and I get to sing in the choir, and people kind of know that I have a
balanced
voice.
academics.
Yeah.
Getting to perform, yeah.
Yeah, but then when the performing thing started getting stronger, it was like, whoa. And then I got accepted into performing arts, and it was like, wow, there's other kids who are interested in this and like so incredibly brilliantly talented who were my age. And I just learned from all of them. I knew to just kind of keep my mouth shut and just watch them and learn from all of them. And then I wound up becoming one of them. Yeah. And then to try to shut it off and pretend it didn't happen and go, okay, now where was I before this performing thing? Okay, let me get back to my studies and I'm going to be an accountant or something practical. It was like, oh no, that version of me is already gone. And part of that crying in those 3 weeks was like mourning that old version of myself. Like, wow, I don't have the same dreams and goals. I really do want to perform. I don't know how I'm even going to get out of Cincinnati or get out of Ohio, let alone to New York or a big city. But I've got to get there. There's something in me says that I have to make that happen. And it's not going to happen this way. It was terrifying, and it was making that call to my parents was really hard. Actually, what triggered it was that I was doing a show called The Cascade Cabaret, which was a big deal in Cincinnati at the time. I got cast my senior year of high school. As a matter of fact, I was late to the prom to be crowned prom king because I had to work that night. They're like, don't you want to take the night off? I was like, no, I want to do the show, then I'll go to the prom after. I mean, I had that level of passion of performing. And my date was right there with me at, front row during the show. I put on my tuxedo, scooped her up. We went to have a quick dinner, and I got there just in time to be crowned, which was like a huge surprise. I never thought I'd be popular enough to be prom king. So I left the show to go to school, and I got a call from the director, choreographer of the show, saying, how are things going at school? And I said, they're not working out. She's like, what do you mean? I was like, I'm just not happy here. She's like, you want to come back? And I was like, yes. And I thought, okay, great. So I have a job. I called the University of Cincinnati to see about, how hard it would be or difficult or whatever to register for general studies. They said, no problem, you're in state, we can do that. And so I had a plan before I called my parents. And that's where the business thing came in, okay, how do because I don't want them to think that I'm going to come home and just like lay around on the couch. That's not my style anyway, but I want them to know that I have a plan. Don't worry about me. So when I called them, my mom was like, well, what are you going to do? I said, well, I'd already done my research. I said, I'm getting my job back, so I'll be making money. I'll be contributing to the household. I'll be saving. I'll be going to school at Cincinnati. And the best advice I ever got from my mother was when she said, do you want to perform? And I said, yes. She goes, study it. Don't have anything to fall back on. She goes, if this is what you want to do, make this your thing. And don't go on that all black folks sing and dance and natural talent thing. Learn it and be the best at it. It's the best advice she gave me. Because so many kids, their parents tell them, well, have this other thing to fall back on. You got to get a degree in this. So your attention is split. So you may be a really good dancer and a doctor or whatever, or accountant, but you could have been a spectacular dancer had your focus not been split, had you been allowed to really follow your passion. So I'm so grateful that my mother didn't say, well, make sure you get a degree in this and that. She goes, no, study this so that you become the best at it.
That's really good advice.
Yo, that was huge.
Because that taps into subconscious. I
Yeah.
mean, subconsciously, if you have something to fall back on,
Yeah.
you can fall back on it, at least in your
Exactly.
subconscious. So it's like going all or nothing makes all the difference.
And that was part of my passion. It's so funny. I'm just now really getting this part of it. That was part of what drove my passion, is knowing that this was my thing. It's part of what made me so serious about it. And looking back, probably made me, I can kind of see why people may have thought that like Alton's so intense, because I was like, no, this is my thing. Like my life is riding on this, you know? And also the gratitude that it's actually working out. I'm in a show and I'm doing it. Like I want to like do it to the nth degree. Yeah. I can see how somebody else may probably look really, really intense.
Yeah.
Cause it was intense. But there was that thing of like, if something goes wrong, I can't call home and ask for money. There is no money waiting for me. You know, I am it. I have to make this happen and I have to keep this going. I wouldn't trade that for the world. Because as I've matured, I've learned to like let go of that intensity and replace that with faith and trust, and looking back on my past and going, oh yeah, you know, I've been here before. It's going to be fine. I'm not going to stress. And then when things turn around, it's like, there it is. And look, I didn't like kill myself over it. I didn't like lose any sleep. I just kind of took care of myself in the meantime, and here it is. And now I get to go to the next vibration.
Oh my God, I love this. That speaks so loudly with me. It's like, it's a saying I had heard about, you know, if you want to take the island, you burn the boats, because there's no going back. It's just going, no option.
Yeah.
You have to go through.
That's
you
right.
can't go around.
That's right.
And that's essentially is what you're saying. Is like, you went all the way. And I love that.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's good. Now, academia, writing your book.
Yeah.
To me, that's very academic. There's a lot of academia associated with it. You got to sit down, you got to type it, you got to organize it, you got to plan it. I'm kind of curious logistically how you completed that, because to me that just seems like a really big feat.
Dude, it seemed, I mean, every time I look at my book, I swear to God, it's been almost a year now since it's been published. I still cannot believe I wrote a book. Yeah. And people have asked me, you know, did it start with journaling? Were you a journaler? I wish I could journal. I don't enjoy writing. You know, the closest I've come to journaling consistently is like I put down what I did every day on my phone or in some kind of calendar, and I have enough information there to remember, oh yeah, this happened that day. But to actually write out, oh, I did this and I did that, man, I'm just not interested.
Dear diary.
Yeah, I've never been that guy.
Yeah.
Or that person. And the book came about because when I hit the 4,000 mark back in August of 2014, you know, Disney made a big deal of it, which was a blessing, and I got congratulations from all over the world. But what bugged me is that people kept telling me how lucky they thought I was. Oh my God, you're so lucky. Disney loves you. You know, you're blessed. You're anointed. You've had such a great career. You're so lucky. And I'm just like, wait a minute. That's not nice. Luck doesn't imply any kind of hard work or consistency or sacrifice. Like, I've worked my butt off. I've sacrificed relationships, personal time off, you know, for my passion. And, you know, luck didn't do 4,000 shows.
Hard work.
Hard work.
Did.
Yeah. No shortcuts. There are no shortcuts to 8 shows a week. I mean, the original title of my book was going to be 8 shows a week is not for the weak. Because people always say, oh, you're so lucky to be on Broadway. No. Luck doesn't get you the job, and luck definitely won't sustain.
Yeah.
So, you know, I started writing because I didn't know anybody else who would have that kind of track record with the show or anything. And it was really, for me, like, you know, how did I get from that shy kid who was afraid to sing in front of anybody to 6 Broadway shows and this milestone and this, you know, phenomenal show? So I wrote to remember my own story and fill in some gaps of my childhood and really remember my journey, remember how much the opposite was true, that it wasn't luck. How much hard work did I really put in, not only professionally, but personally also, to get here? And I shared it with a few friends that I trusted, and they encouraged me to keep writing and said, I've never really seen anybody break down what we go through as artists, and also your story coming from a shy kid to this. And I had a meeting with Thomas Schumacher, who's so cool, the head of Disney Theatrical, because he had just released a book about a year before, to ask him, like, when did you write? Did you have a co-writer? What was your process like? Yeah. And I'd already written some things in. He said, well, can I see what you're writing? I said, sure. And after about a month, he said, you know what? I think Disney might be interested in publishing this. I was like, really? And I'd had enough there, because I first started writing out like it was going to be something for artists. Like, this is what we go through. Yeah. And also, and for people who are considering being artists, this is what you may have to deal with. And if this seems like really hard work and too much for you, then it might not be for you. But if you see this as like, wow, this is just what I have to do to get to where I want to get to as a performer, then this might be your passion.
I love it, because in it you have questions, periodic, self-reflective questions. And I think questions, the way you ask a question or what kind of question you ask, can change your life. Yeah. I think asking better questions can get you more out of everything. Mm-hmm. Just asking better questions. Now, in terms of the book, did you have a load of free time? Did you have a little free time? Did you give yourself mornings to work on this, evenings to work on this? Was it when you felt like working on it, and then after you got some feedback, you were like, okay, this is going to be my schedule?
When I first started writing the book while I was still in the show. Mm. So I always shared, Mufasa always shares a dressing room on Broadway with adult Simba. And because they're in two different acts, Mufasa's first act, adult Simba's second act. So I'd have the room to myself for all of act 2. And once I really started, actually not once I really got serious, I first started writing during act 2 of like, you know what, let me get off of Facebook and turn down my iPod. Let me just really like start using this computer for other stuff. So I just started hunting and pecking. And it became like my meditation. I get out of my clothes, I would, do a little stretch, wish Simba good luck. And as soon as you leave the dressing room, that's when I would go, okay, it's time to work. I've got 45 minutes before I have to do my act 2, Simba, you have forgotten me. Mm. So it became, that became my first schedule. Then once I got the book deal, it became, I tried to pick certain times to write, but that didn't always work. Because I didn't want it to feel like a job. I wanted it to flow. So a certain feeling would come over me. Sometimes I would go to the computer and start writing, and I would start going, and I go, this doesn't feel right. Okay, and I just close the computer and go do something else, and I try again. Not ready. Then let me just see. And wow, next thing you know, I'm on and an hour has passed. Yeah. It would it's like a certain meditative feeling would come over me.
It's like a flow state.
Yeah. Yeah. Because as soon as I perceived it as an obligation, it stopped being fun. Yeah. But when I thought, okay, let me wait for me to get to a place of service, of like really sharing. Because I'm not writing this to impress anybody. I'm writing to really share my experience. So a lot of times when I would start, my ego would be there. And these questions of like, what do people need to see, need to hear? It's like, no, it's not about what they need. It's about what I want to sincerely share.
What do you feel? Yeah.
Well, yeah. So that is when I would write. And that would be different times of day. Most of it was done at that little table downstairs in my bedroom. Yeah. That was like my favorite spot to write in. Yeah. Right in the bay window there.
I love that you started it in your dressing room, because I realize this as a performer, there's a lot you can get done within a show. Most of us, I think, depending on what you play, there's some time in there, whether it's intermission, the half hour beforehand, there's it adds up generally like about an hour or so, at least in the few shows I've done recently where I'm like, I can get a lot done in this no Wi-Fi zone.
Yeah, exactly.
So I really like that. I think that's really, really, really cool. So then just logistically, how long did it take after the book deal to finish it?
Less than a year.
Wow.
Yeah, which was, I'm told, it's like amazing because people take years to write a book.
Yeah.
I'm the kind of person, once I have a deadline, I'm really good with meeting deadlines.
Yeah.
I've never been much of a procrastinator, which has also been a gift and something I'm grateful for, that I go, just do it, just jump. I'm very much an Aries. We like getting things done. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. That's really great. Okay, so then we're going to change gears here a little bit.
Okay.
Is there a character you've played that has taught you the most about yourself or a lot about yourself? Does anything come to mind?
Every character has taught me something about myself, but the one character that really opened my eyes the most when I was younger was playing Jackie Robinson in a show called The First. It was in researching Jackie Robinson, you know, of course, he's the black man who integrated baseball, and researching and seeing how his whole life led to him being the chosen one for that. It wasn't just because he was a good baseball player. It was a combination of things. And this is when I really got, it takes a combination of things to make someone exceptional. You know, there are lots of talented people, but talent is enough. There's lots of love in this world, but, you know, love isn't enough to keep a relationship going. You know, it takes more. It takes a combination of things. And in researching Jackie Robinson and seeing that, you know, he was, when he was young, his mother had the foresight and the courage to move them from an all-black neighborhood to California to a predominantly white neighborhood. And Jackie was used to going to school and being called names and still excelling. You know, when he went to UCLA, he was the first four-letter man at UCLA where he excelled in 4 different sports. Nobody had ever done that. So he got to choose which one he wanted to pursue. So with him being, you know, becoming this incredible baseball player and, you know, and he could be on the field and be called these names and have black cats thrown on the field and all kinds of crazy stuff and still excel because he was already groomed to be that exceptional one. So it's like, oh, wow. So it's not just about being a good performer. It is about being someone who is likable and that people want to be bothered with. It is about education and knowledge. You know, talent isn't enough. You know, talent will get you in the door, but you need things at your fingertips to help you thrive. And that's what's made me a thriving artist instead of a starving artist. You know, because when I wasn't singing, I was always doing a cabaret. I was always doing something else, trying to open another door, trying to be, to make sure that I was being seen not only as a musical theater performer or not only as a character I was playing, but other kinds of things. To keep my world open, to keep it multifaceted. So I really learned that from Jackie. And when I read anybody's biography or see any interviews, the ones that impress me are the ones, people who do other things, who have more than one passion. So there's so many of my favorite actors are writers. They are painters. They are choreographers, things you would never think they do. So yeah, this kind of helped me continue to mature, to keep finding out new things about myself and new ways of expressing myself, new ways of sharing, new ways of doing service.
How old were you when you played that?
That was right after Miss Saigon. I was 27.
Okay. Yeah, that's something that I'm finding, and I've discovered that I'm 26, and that's something I've realized in the last 2 years is a lot of the top players, the top performers don't just do one thing.
Right.
It's not just theater, or not just acting, or not just singing. It's like they produce, they direct, they put together concerts.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's something you and I were talking about beforehand. This whole concert situation that you've created is incredible.
Thank you. It's been a blessing. I mean, Disney's been a great company to work for. I still do. I do cruises for them. I just got back from an incredible cruise I was in Iceland. I was in Norway. I was in Denmark for the 3rd time because of Disney. I was in Scotland for the 4th time because of Disney, and having these like life-changing experiences, seeing the world, which just opens your mind and gives me a different appreciation for home. Yeah. And getting to perform. Like when I do these 2-week cruises, I perform twice the entire 2 weeks. Yeah. And it's great. And it's good to know that all of our lives, all of our careers are accumulative. As much as, we're taught that, you're only as good as your last job. No, it's the accumulation of your life work up to this point that adds up that leads you to the next thing. And it's up to you to perceive it that way or not. You can listen to what they say it is, or you can come up with your own perception. So it's great to do these concerts, whether it's doing my one-man show on a Disney cruise to Europe, or performing at Royal Albert Hall with 3 other Disney singers, which is, one of the most famous halls in the world. I know everything that I did leading up to that led to that moment and will lead to even greater moments.
And that has been intentionally created by you.
Yeah.
That's not one of the stumble upon things.
No,
That's
it's
been thought out and created.
Yeah, and some of it, some of it is like, visualizing and dreaming of, I've always wanted to do concerts with beautiful orchestras. That's something I've always wanted to do. And I feel like, okay, now is the time. But not expecting it, wanting it, desiring it, but not expecting it, which makes it an even greater surprise and even more satisfying when it actually comes. Because it's not like, oh my God, it's finally here. It's like, oh wow, it's really here.
It's arrived.
It's arrived.
You're not,
and
like,
being
pushing
and
it
being
into
grateful for being grateful, and not like, oh my God, it's about time. And and those are things that we can all control. And all things that you have to have a handle on, because if you allow yourself to be entitled, you will never be happy. Nothing will ever be enough. Whereas if you're grateful, you're constantly surprised and thankful and appreciative and really in the moment. Moment to moment to moment.
Have you had, this is slightly changing gears, is there like a pothole story somewhere in life where you're driving along, you hit a pothole and it's taught you a lot, or just really upset the cart but didn't upset the cart because it actually helped you in a great way?
Oh man, there've been so many of those. They don't happen as often because I've really worked hard to be grateful. And it's almost like it's become almost automatic for me. Like when something negative happens, I've learned to now, instead of go, why me, to let myself experience whatever I'm feeling. I let myself, I don't run away from the disappointment of something that I want. I've learned to really mourn it. Like, man, I really worked hard for that audition. Like with TV and film, I'm pursuing that mostly now. And, you memorize pages of dialogue, you go in for the callback, but you don't know, you can't control them calling you. All you can do is go, I'm proud of myself for the work I put into it. And I did what I planned to do. And that's all I can really expect. If the job comes, great. But there are sometimes when I do that and I read someplace that, that this film role has been cast, but it's been cast with somebody else. And I allow myself to go, man, I really wanted to have that experience with that director or whatever. And whether it may mean crying, it may mean just like, having a few hours of just being sad, as opposed to going, no, I'm okay. No, I don't care. It's like, no, I do care. I don't ever want to thicken my skin. And that's something we're told in the business. You got to develop a thick skin in this business. No, I don't ever not want to be a deeply feeling person. That informs my work. Yeah. So when I'm singing a particular kind of song that is heart opening, I want to be able to deliver those lyrics using my own experience. I want to be in touch with that. So the payoff for me and the way to balance it out for myself is to let myself feel. There are times when I just need to have a good cry. Like, wow, I'm really disappointed that didn't work out. Now I think about when I was younger, when I would like go, oh no, I'm okay. And I would have 2 weeks of denying it. And then finally something small would happen and it would trigger it. And I blow off steam inappropriately. It's like, oh, I don't want to ever be that guy again. So let me just allow myself to feel it. And once to give it attention, which is all it really wants, it's replaced with more joy. Like, oh wow, okay, great, I'm on to the next thing. Because you it happens, you acknowledge it, you flush it, and then it's replaced with something better. And then I can go back to going,
replaced with something better.
Yeah, then I can go back to like, wait a minute, I'm proud of myself. I did really well in that audition. I may not have booked it, but that's going to prepare me for the next audition.
Yeah,
I'm going to go in even more confident. And I might actually book the next one. And there's another one. There's always another one waiting for you.
Yes.
There's always another opportunity waiting.
Yes.
But you want to be ready. You want to be in the mental place of really being prepared to accept it. Not still denying your feelings about something. No, I've already flushed that. Yes, I'm open and available for this new opportunity. Yes, I'm present for it.
Yeah, you're not carrying things with you to set.
Yeah,
or whatever,
exactly. Emotional baggage.
Yeah. Now, okay, so when you're on set, are there common themes you see among top performers in TV,
Yes.
film?
Yeah. Somebody that I learned something, two people I learned something from. Freddie Rodriguez. I did an episode of Bull this past spring. It was great. It was like a 2-week shoot. It was great. And it was so cool to watch this guy work. I mean, I've been a fan of his since 6 Feet Under. And then he was on Ugly Betty. I've always liked his likable approach. And he plays a lawyer. And I think this is one of his first times playing a lawyer. And there's a lot of dialogue, lots of monologue. And to watch this guy work and to see his level of commitment. And, he'd make a mistake and he would just take a breath and then jump right back in. And go, okay. And then jump back in. I just see him just keep trying and never give up. Was like, yeah, we all make mistakes. When you see TV shows, you think, oh my God, they just run through these lines. No, there's a lot of cutting. There's a lot of cutting. And it was really cool to see somebody struggle with something and keep moving, keep working through it and use that discipline and then get across the finish line. Yeah. He's one. And I got to do a film that comes out next year called The Goldfinch, based on a best-selling book. And I had a couple of scenes with Nicole Kidman. And it was really cool to work with her, like to be, director goes action and you're doing the scene. And in between, while they're changing camera angles, you're just kind of standing there talking. And it was cool that she was so approachable. She was so cool. And we were chit-chatting and she was open to letting me ask her questions like, how do you get your inspiration and how do you keep yourself up in between scenes? And she talked so much about gratitude. She goes, I still can't believe that I get to do what I love to do. And the director would come to her and go, hey, is there anything you want to change? And she was like, no, whatever you think. And I thought, she is in service. And she kind of explained what her gratitude is service without using those words. She was like, no, this is your production. I'm here as an actor to do my part. You can see what's going on. I'm here to do it. You tell me what you want. And she was so low maintenance. And I've been on set with some people who are in the show and want to direct and produce and do everything. And not just be the actor. And it's like, wow, okay, so yeah, you're in the scene, you're the star of the show, but you still need all this other attention. Wow. That wasn't very attractive to me. It's kind of like, wow, that's a lot. And nobody's going to say anything to them because they're the star of the show, But to see her just kind of like, no, okay, whenever you're ready. Oh, you think that's what you like? Okay, great. It was like that service.
Yeah, there's like no emotional baggage there.
Yeah.
Just brought nothing but presence to the present moment.
She was there to honor the work.
Wow. Yeah, because that could be a separate episode all in itself. Okay. So we're getting towards the end here. I have some finishing up questions. I want to know, how do you begin your day?
I begin my day. I intentionally don't have a TV in my bedroom. Because normally I would get up, turn on the TV, and I'm like, no. So I get up and I lay there and I let myself really wake up. And then when my body says it's time to get up, I let myself get out of bed. I make my coffee. I come into this room, my living room, and I turn on New York 1. That's my morning thing, to see what's happening in the city. I love knowing what's happening in New York. And when I'm traveling, as much as I love travel, that's one of the main things I miss is New York 1, because it's so New York.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So look at New York 1, and I normally go to the gym or yoga or do something physical in the morning. Sometimes I wait till afternoon, but it's not the same. Something about the gym or yoga helping to wake my body up that I enjoy.
Do you meditate?
I do. To me, I don't like sit still meditating. I do Bikram yoga. Okay. Which is hot yoga. And what I love about the repetition is the same postures. What I love is that the more familiar you get with them, the deeper you can get into the postures, and it becomes a meditation. Yeah. So to me, it's like a 90-minute moving meditation. That's when my best thoughts come to me. That's when I knew it was time to leave Lion King. That's when I came up with how I wanted to post it on social media. That's when my best thoughts come, because my mind and body are relaxed enough to really get to my deepest intentions. Yeah, my meditations are moving meditations, and I talk about this when I do my keynote speeches. You know, some people don't want to sit still with their legs crossed. I said my meditations are cooking. When I bake, that is a meditation for me. You know, the whole preparation, the slicing the vegetables, you know, the hearing the sizzle when the vegetables hit the oil, all of that is like puts my mind in a state of like being relaxed, where I'm like doing something I enjoy, I'm creating something, and I'm also like going deep into my thoughts. Gardening is a meditation for me. I feel like anything where I get so involved enjoying it that I lose track of time, that to me is a meditation. Where I go, oh my God, an hour has passed. Like writing had become that. Like it went from being daunting, the thought of like, okay, I've started writing, now I have a book deal, now I've got to actually write a book. How am I going to do that? But once I got my mind to a place of being relaxed and found that right moment to write, I would go, oh my God, 2 hours have passed, and I would scroll down and go, I've written all this these past 2 hours. Wow.
Yeah.
You know, so it's about finding out what works for you.
Yeah.
I think it's important to try different things, and some of those things will work, some won't, but they will lead you to your own. But you've got to at least make that first step toward, you got to put those thoughts into action.
Have you found your purpose?
I'm still finding it. I found several of my purposes. Yeah. I'm still finding more. I'm discovering more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can see that. I mean, just even reading through like what you've worked on, what you're working on, what's coming up. There's so much. I just love that.
Thank you.
Love how much there is. Who are you when you're at your best?
When I'm at my best, I'm calm, I'm patient, I'm open, I'm willing.
Yeah. Yeah. Are there any common pieces of incorrect advice that you hear a lot in life, in acting, in singing, in a particular field with even book writing? Is anything come to mind?
Sure. Thickening your skin.
Sure.
The main thing is like, you know, you have to thicken your skin.
Yeah.
That was the main thing. And I tried that early in my career, and I blocked out a lot of love and a lot of good things that were trying to come my way because I was thickening my skin. Because when you thicken your skin, nothing can get in, even if it wants to. And for me to soften my edges was a very vulnerable thing for me. It was very frightening. But once I started getting the kind of, you know, surprising results, I was like, oh, wow, this is the way to go. This doesn't feel really natural to me yet, but let me keep exercising faith and courage and going against the grain, quote unquote.
Yeah.
And I started getting different results. Like, oh, wow, when I respond this way, I get this result. And I seem to be viewed this way and I'm treated that way. Oh, wow. So it's great to have because we need our egos, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's great to have that ego when I need it, but I don't need that to rule my life. I don't need it as much as I thought I needed. Maybe I can exercise more sensitivity, more patience, more willingness, more courage. Those are the things that have gotten me the best results.
Yeah.
But at the same time, to be in touch with like, okay, somebody's taking me for granted, or trying to take advantage of me or my talent, or trying to tell me that I'm not worth what I know I'm worth. That's when the ego goes, oh, now I need this. Oh, okay. Now I need to be this version of myself to protect my reputation, my work, my ethic, whatever.
Right.
So it's about being in touch with different things within yourself and knowing what to use when.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting, the thickening the skin. Yeah. I've noticed that a lot with like, oh, it's a dog-eat-dog world.
Yeah.
Oh, life's a marathon. Life's a race. None of that's really
No, it's not
true.
It is for some people. And if that's your perception, if that's what you put out, that's what you're going to get. And that's what you're going to be expecting. Like, let's go back to the whole starving artist thing. You know, this is something I love to talk about, like in terms of your question. You know, I think so many of us are taught, we think that if you're going to be an artist, that you're going to be a starving artist because we've heard that so much of our lives, right?
Yeah.
And so I've seen people who are successful And I had to deal with this myself, coming from, being raised in the projects, not, I was raised in an apartment. So I wasn't raised in a house. This is all new to me, but I had to create space for this because it wasn't a part of my experience. So there was like guilt at first when I started really becoming successful and really making good money. I didn't really know what to do with it because it's like, I'm supposed to be starving. This is supposed to be hard. So I would look for it to be hard, and I would sabotage things because it's not supposed to be this easy. And thankfully, after suffering enough, after having sabotaged opportunities, I did that enough to go, wait a minute, there's got to be another way. And that's when it really helped to look to people that I admired and reading autobiographies and seeing that nobody has a straight path to anything. And going, no, I'm working hard for this. I don't believe in luck. I have worked very hard for this. Nobody gave me this. And if somebody can give you an opportunity, but you still got to do it and then do it consistently well.
You still got to show up.
You still got to show up. Yeah. So like, okay, I don't want to be a starving artist. I want to be a thriving artist. And it seems like that's what my higher power, what the universe wants from me. So I had to like take the steps to really create space for that, to have the kind of life that I want. So yeah, but many of us never outgrow that starving artist thing, and we see it. We see it in movies. We see it in the music business. People who reach a certain point of success. I think of Whitney Houston. I remember as a Black performer, having Whitney Houston come was just like, whoa. We have like our version of Barbara Streisand, our version of Diana Ross. She's like all this wrapped into one, glamorous, beautiful, this incredible voice, and so she crosses over, right? And hits the pop charts. And then, certain folks in the Black community and critics are going, now she's selling out, And we see that with, even non-Black performers, once they reach a certain success, they're overexposed. We see too much of them. But isn't that success? Isn't crossing over the idea? Isn't finding a new audience and increasing your audience? Isn't that success? But if you don't have your mind in the right place, it's so easy to sabotage that. Oh my God, it's too much for me. It's too much success. No, you have to create space for that. Well, you don't have to do anything. You have the opportunity to create space for that. But if you don't, you can wind up feeling guilty for success. And that's where I think addictions and other unhealthy distractions come into play, because people haven't made peace with their good fortune. And their hard work they put into it, and that's a real thing. Whitney Houston, I think, is a great example of that. Of like, it really hurt her feelings that people thought she sold out. And another person, I think it's somebody like Jennifer Lopez, who no matter what, I don't know how many records she's selling, but every time you turn around, there's another album coming out. She's got another movie. She's got several TV shows.
Always working.
Yeah, her, Steve Harvey. These people,
Yeah.
I'm like, when do these people sleep?
Yeah.
When do they see their families? When do they see their kids? But they have created space. Oprah Winfrey, she has had to constantly do that work of opening and creating more space for more opportunity. And I think it's something that we all have the potential to do, but it comes down to, what do you want to do? What kind of choices are you making? So that whole thickening your skin, it's going to be rough, be prepared to starve. The world is a hard, dangerous place. Yeah, if you perceive it that way, that's what it'll be. Yeah. But I think you can have an awareness that it could possibly be that way, and also go, yeah, but maybe it won't be that way for me because I don't see things that way. Because I think I feel like I'm living proof that we do attract what we put out.
Yeah. And the narrative of that in media in general, it's so much more, I guess people think it's so much more, there's so much more gravity with it, of saying like, oh, they were struggling, they were starving, and then they got this job when they were almost about to be put out to somewhere, and it's like, that's not.
A lot of that's made up.
Yeah.
Some of that is true, but a lot of that is made up because it is dramatic. It's good copy.
Yeah.
It's more, it's just more dramatic.
Yeah. But that's like what, and this is a big generalization, but that's what a parent sees, and then they tell their kid that as they're going to college to study theater. So
because they're afraid. Because the parents are afraid.
Yeah.
Which is understandable, because a lot of parents, and it's something I say about artists too, you'll never be able to explain what you do as an artist. I spent so much of my early life trying to educate my family, like, this is what I do, because they didn't understand 8 shows a week. They didn't understand that, no, I'm sorry, you can't come up this weekend. I've got a 5-show weekend. Yeah, but we'll be quiet. No, but I'll need my rest. It's not, and if you're here, I'm going to want to take care of you. And I can't do that with my demanding schedule, because they still think, well, you're just singing and dancing. They don't understand that the discipline that goes into being able to sing that one song really well. You know, and that if I'm up with you laughing and talking till 3 a.m. and reminiscing, and then I've got to be up and go to the gym, blah, 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 that's going to affect my tomorrow. You will never be able to explain that to anybody. Yeah. And I found that, you know, explain as much as I can, but show them. Because even people who love you the most, who may not understand, if they see that you're happy and that you're succeeding in your passion, that kind of fills in a lot of gaps that you can never really explain. Which is also still... You know, it's a very isolating thing being an artist, because you can't explain your passion or your level of passion to anyone. You just have to do it.
Yeah.
You put that energy into nurturing yourself so that you can share it.
Can you, if you're willing, can you speak for a moment on feeling inferior and maybe what advice you would give someone who's feeling inferior? And what comes to mind in my mind now is the advice of a person who's here in the city, who wants to perform, maybe isn't booking a job, feels inferior, thinks they should be doing or knows they should be doing it, but still has a feeling of inferior in them. Is there anything that comes to mind to share in regards to that?
Inferior. Well, I would say, first of all, give yourself credit for wanting it badly enough, because I think sometimes we're made to feel badly for wanting to be successful.
We're made to feel badly for wanting to be successful.
Yes. So give yourself credit for trying. And we forget that, you know, especially when you're auditioning and you're preparing, you know, you're preparing all this material for, like, say you've had, you know, 6 auditions in the past 3 weeks and it's different material for each one. You didn't book any of them, but man, you're doing the work. You know, and if you're a creative person, and this is a tough thing for any performer, is when you run into somebody, well, so what are you doing? So what's next? That's such a like anxiety inducing question for any artist to get, because you're expected to go. I mean, I would get this from Lion King. Hey, so you're doing Mufasa, so what's next? It's like, can I enjoy being on Broadway? Like, what am I supposed to say? Like, I'm going to win a Tony Award next. Well, next, I'm going to make a movie and I'm going to win an Oscar. But you feel obligated to say, like, some incredible news. And it's like, I'm working. I'll be working. That's what's next. Or, you know, well, okay, you left Lion King, so what are you doing now? I'm working. As artists, we are always working. We're always preparing for something. You're always preparing for the next audition, the next phone call for the next appointment. So, and we forget to give ourselves credit for that. That's the work. The work isn't just booking the job or just getting hired. The work is preparing. That's the real work. And the real work starts once you get the job, maintaining the job.
Yeah.
You know, people talk about Broadway and getting back to me almost naming the book, 8 shows a week is not for the weak. Because people think, you know, I just had a talk with some of the guys, some of the cast on the crew, on this last cruise I got off of. And I said, don't wait until you're on Broadway to give your all. This is your training. So don't go, okay, well, I'm just going to give this much this show because when I get on Broadway, then I'm going to get, no. If you can't do it here, you won't be able to do it there. Because this is like a 6-month contract, right? But once you get a long-running show, and what are you going to do after 6 months? And if you're not ready, it's a very high chance that you may sabotage it because you're not prepared for the long run. That's the real work. How do you do it consistently well? Booking it can be easy. Can you do it consistently well?
Yeah.
So to that person who's feeling inferior, who's feeling like, man, am I ever going to get my shot? You're preparing for it. Celebrate that. Give yourself credit for that. Acknowledge that in some way. That, man, I'm doing the work. Yeah, it's not landed anywhere yet, but I'm sharpening my skills. I'm getting more comfortable at auditioning, getting more comfortable at getting material at the last minute and having to really focus on it and go in there and do the best. And then if you focus on the positives, the fact, first of all, if you're even being seen is success. Yeah. Because there are people who cannot even get in the door for auditions. So if you're even getting in the door, that's success in itself. And if you want it badly enough, you're passionate about something. So many people who are successful still aren't passionate about anything. So all the money and success they have in the area doesn't really mean as much as it could, because it's not what they really want to do. But if you are doing what you really love to do, you're pursuing what you really love to do, give yourself credit. To me, there's no greater feeling than self-validation. That's why I named my book My Pride. Making yourself proud of yourself is a gift you give yourself. Nobody can take that away from you, and only you know.
And nobody can give it to you.
Nobody can give it to you. You know, if you get an audition tomorrow and you given like a scene to learn, you can go, oh yeah, I'll take it. I'll do it tomorrow. Or you can go, okay, I need to hold everything because I need to really focus on this because I've got to learn it. And I've got to learn it well enough to bring myself to it, and not just say the words, but say them the way I perceive them. You know, and that takes work, and only you know what that level is. Only you know how much time it's going to take. And once you do it, that level of pride of like, oh yeah, I did it. I really worked hard on this. Nobody can take that away from you or give it to you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. That's a really great answer. I'm still figuring out that answer to what are you doing next? And I bet that's a difficult question to hear when you're already doing so much.
Yeah.
Like for you, I'm sure you get that question a lot because of the stuff you're doing. So it's like, what's next? What's next? What's next? What's
All the
next?
time, yeah. And I've learned that, you know, a lot of times people don't mean to be mean. They're not mean. They really are excited. Sometimes, you know, when you run into other performers, they're looking, okay, so you're done that, so what's next? So, and you can tell, your instincts tell you if it's coming from a loving, concerned place, a curious place, or a shady place.
Yeah.
You know,
like a sizing up.
yeah. But my standard answer is, unless it's somebody that I know who's really concerned, I don't like listing things. So I'm going here, then I'm going that, then I don't like how that feels. I feel like I'm like overcompensating. But if it's somebody that I care about, that I know, then I'll go, yeah, well, this, and I can go into detail about it. But when I run into another actor, I go, well, you know, I'm working, this stuff coming up. There's some things coming up that I'm very excited about.
Next question.
Because also, I don't want to make you feel bad. I don't want to make you feel like, oh, yeah, well, God, you got so much going on. I don't want to like even go anywhere near that.
Yeah.
So I just, I'm working, and I'm grateful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm grateful to have some great opportunities coming up. That's kind of my standard answer.
Yeah.
I think it's a good answer for anybody.
Yeah.
You know, I'm really grateful that a lot of wonderful things are happening.
Yeah, that's a good answer. It is. No, it is, because then you get that anxiety. You get it. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Do you have any most gifted books besides your own?
My Pride, Mastering Life's Daily Performance. I love Don Miguel Ruiz.
Okay.
Yeah, I love his books, The Four Agreements. I love The Voice of Knowledge. I love The Road Less Traveled. That's a book that I've read several times. I love a great book called The Untethered Soul, Michael Singer. Yeah, those are like real favorites.
Yeah.
I love Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah.
Because that was a mind-changing book of like, you know, you are your thoughts. Your thoughts, you know, your thoughts create your reality. So, you know, what are you going to choose to focus on? That's within our power.
I'm just writing some of these down. Do you plan out books with what you're working on with projects, or do you read?
I let them find me.
Okay.
Find me. And I have books that I have in my office where I'll just kind of like look in one day, it's like something will jump out and go, okay.
Yeah.
Let me just pull that out. It's like, oh wow, okay, I guess I need to read this.
Yeah.
Again, that's that instinctual thing of like being in touch with how you feel, which to me is what meditation, all those things are for. You know, that's how I figure out what I really need, not just what I want, but what I really, really need on a soul level.
Yeah. Yeah. This has been such a wonderful, wonderful conversation.
Oh, thank you, man.
I'm so full right now.
Good. That's
of
awesome.
Life.
That's awesome.
From this chat. And I really, really, really appreciate you taking the time.
It's my pleasure.
Because that's something we don't get back.
Yeah, that's right. I always say that.
So to take that, I really
Yeah.
appreciate, or to give that is so, allowing me to take that is so wonderful. Where can we, what's the best way to find you? Where can we find you? What do you?
You can find me I'm very active on social media, Facebook under Alton Fitzgerald White, fan page.
Yeah.
I also have a Disney My Way fan page, and I have an Alton Fitzgerald White regular page, which is pretty much full now.
Yeah.
So it's best to get me through my fan page.
Okay.
I'm on Twitter at White Alton,
Great.
and on Instagram at Alton2459. And the best way to get my book, because people ask for signed books, you can get them through my website. You go to altonfitzgeraldwhite.com. You can get printed versions or audiobooks. They will be signed and sent directly to you. Or you can send them. You can put the instructions where you want them sent. You can gift it to someone, and the postage and everything is already included. Because I did a bunch of book signings when the book first came out, and now I just do book signings after I do speaking engagements. So I wanted to make it available to anybody. You can also get my Disney My Way CD. You can order that.
I have it.
Yeah, from the website. You can get everything from altonfitzgeraldwhite.com.
Yeah.
Articles, videos, my TED Talk. All those things are on my website.
We can write you letters too, because that's how we made contact.
That's how we exactly. Yeah,
You're the first guest that I've had on from snail mail or whatever you want to even call it anymore. Mail, traditional mail.
And it was your approach. The way you approached me made me go, yes, I want to make time to talk to him. And it's wound up. It's a gift for me as well talking to you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying that. This has been absolutely a pleasure. I usually end it with a billboard quote. If there's something metaphorically that you could put on a billboard, a word or a phrase that millions of people could see, is there anything that comes to mind?
Well, it's a phrase that I came up with. Discipline is a gift you give yourself.
Discipline is a gift you give yourself. That's so true.
Yeah, just what we talked about earlier about you can't, your level of passion and discipline may be perceived by other people as something else, something negative. Too intense, too focused, too whatever. But it's a gift you're giving yourself, and other people may judge it or may think that you're missing out on something. But in the long run, that's what we all need to really sustain ourselves. When you're on a certain path and a distraction comes, something shiny and new, it's going to take discipline and go, nope, I don't have time for you. No, this is more important. I can get back to you later, but I can't sacrifice this for this temporary something. That discipline will keep you, will help you thrive.
And that
through anything.
Yeah. Yeah. That couldn't be more evident for you. I mean, just the time you spend, it's so amazing, what you have coming out. You have say you have this book coming out. Oh, it's so great. Oh my God, you wrote a book. How lucky you are. This is so great. And no one has an idea, or some people don't, of how much discipline it actually takes to sit down and spend that time alone, because you're not doing that at a party.
No.
You're not doing that socializing.
No. Writing is a very isolating thing.
Yeah. Even the CD and the concerts and all the performances and having, flawless performances, it's discipline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and we've really, really dissected that, and I really appreciate you for sharing.
Sure, man.
All of that.
Sure.
This has been great.
Awesome, dude.
Ladies and gentlemen, Alton Fitzgerald White.
Yeah.
You've been listening to Entertainment X, the podcast. You can follow Entertainment X on Instagram at _EntertainmentX_. If you haven't yet, go to Apple Podcasts and subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. Join Clay next week for another curiosity conversation on Entertainment X. Thank you for listening.